It's 2010, I'm on my couch, chips in hand, watching Eat, Pray, Love. Julia Roberts is biking through these impossibly green rice fields, soaking up the magic of Bali. And then there's Javier Bardem. Handsome, romantic, everything a love chapter should be. I remember thinking, one day I'm going there. I'll eat the delicious food, do yoga under the palm trees, and who knows, maybe I'll meet my own Javier. When I first came to Bali, I embraced the tourist experience wholeheartedly. From iconic swings overlooking the jungle to yoga classes that nourish the soul, it was everything I had imagined. And I wasn't alone. 6 million people visited Bali in 2024. But as I immersed myself in the magic of Bali, I started seeing another side. The growing tourism industry is leaving its mark. The iconic rice fields that attracted millions of visitors to the island are now disappearing.
Since 2011, between 13 and 15% of Bali's agricultural land has been transitioned to concrete, largely for tourism development.
This is Tim, founder of Astung Caraway. As I was grappling with my impact as a tourist, a friend recommended their farm tours, a hands-on, feet-in-the-mud experience that lets you live like a Balinese rice farmer for a day. It was a breath of fresh air.
Our project is called Astung Caraway, and Astung Cara is actually a Balinese word that is the very epitome of hope. What really struck me is sort of a disconnect between international and local people. International people here, we bring our consumptive mindset and approaches with us, and we want to create our dreams here in Bali, which is very easy for us to do with the privilege that we have. How can we bring international and local people together in meaningful ways, ultimately to create projects that result in regeneration and goodness for everybody?
Astung Caraway offers 2 types of experiences. Farm tours, where you learn about planting seedlings, building compost, and feeding worms with local farmers, and multi-day trails taking you to hidden parts of Bali, far from the beaten tourist path. Probably the Bali where Julia and Javier fell in love.
It's actually a walking journey from the south coast of Bali to the north coast of Bali that brings people closer to nature and gets them thinking about how they can live more closely to the source of their food, inspired by the simple lifestyles and traditional skills and knowledge that people indigenous to places have.
But Astung Caraway is not just another tour operator. The funds generated from the tours directly supports Astung Caraway's efforts in reviving regenerative agriculture. It's tourism that doesn't just take, it gives back.
The average age of farmers in Bali is 60, and we're asking them to bear the weight of a transition to regenerative farming. Everybody has to contribute, including whomever is watching this.
One thing you need to know about me is I love rice. From sushi to risotto, and let's not forget, plain, white, fragrant rice. It's one of my favorite foods.
If you're living in a country where rice isn't grown, my message would be, why don't you try finding something else to eat that grows close to you? If you're living in a place where rice is grown, I would like to inform you that 99.7% of the world's rice is grown with petrochemicals. Ask yourself how truly healthy that source of food is, not just for you, but also for the environments that sustain you.
Indonesia is the 4th largest producer of rice in the world. For millions of people here, rice is more than just food.
It's not only the food that they rely on as a staple food, that's the center of every meal. It's also their culture, their tradition, their ritual, their religion. It's everything to the Balinese. It's intertwined in life here. Traditionally, rice was produced in a way that was biodiverse, that entailed multi-cropping and like lots of different things growing in a rice paddy. Around 50 years ago, the Green Revolution started, and people came to Indonesia to sell their chemicals and big ideas so that everybody could get rich and eat a lot of food. That perfect balance was disrupted.
Stop. Let's rewind to the Green Revolution, a time of big promises. In the 1960s, Indonesia's president declared an ambitious goal: make the country self-sufficient in rice within 5 years. Enter the Green Revolution, and with it, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, high-yield new rice varieties, and shiny new irrigation systems. At first, it all worked like a charm. Yields did improve dramatically. But there was a price to pay. The heavy use of chemicals drained the soil of life, disrupted ecosystems, and chained farmers to expensive petrochemical inputs. Then came the 1990s financial crisis, which sent input costs through the roof and squeezed farmers' profits despite government subsidies. Today, although Indonesia is the fourth largest producer of rice in the world, it still needs to import rice from abroad.
The average income of a rice farmer is around $80 US per month. Creates a crisis, which is that nobody wants to be a farmer. So what happens in a place like Bali is the agriculture sector can't compete with tourism. So all the young people want to go off and work in air-conditioned hotels and restaurants and not steward their ancestral land. And these farmers are really undervalued. A lot of what we do is trying to bring back the dignity to agriculture as a viable career, as well as to find a way that by being a farmer you can regenerate life on your ancestral land, as well as to have revenue sources and self-sufficiency in a way that can more than compete with the tourism industry.
This brings us back to regenerative agriculture, a solution that could not just revive the soil, but also the traditions and livelihoods of Bali's farmers.
So the system that we use here is a complex rice system. Because it's complex, so it's not only planting a rice, but we integrate with another things. We use the pattern that we call Jajar Legowo. It's two line with the distance is 25 centimeters and the other distance is 50 centimeters. So it gives a space between the line that the rice is planting. And around the rice paddies, we're planting a border plant. These plants, they can help to give the nitrogen into the soil. We also can plant another legume family like beans. They also can be another income for the farmers. We have a azolla here. It's also a source of nitrogen. When all the field is full with the azolla, it can make the weeds won't grow because there is no light come into the soil, so they can be like a block. Another element is ducks. It's really important one because we're not using chemical, but the ducks can donate their poo to the soil as a source of nitrogen as well and nutrients. Ducks also work as pest control because in baby stage of rice, there will be a lot of pests that we call snails. So the ducks love it. So the ducks will eat it, and then it's help us to reduce the snails and not using pesticides.
While regenerative rice farming isn't entirely new, the chemical dependency introduced by the Green Revolution has made it hard for Balinese farmers to reclaim this knowledge. This is precisely the gap that Aston Caraway is bridging, reviving time-tested farming traditions, refining them with support from leading research institutions, and reintroducing them to a new generation of farmers.
Satu, tidak beli pupuk. Kedua, ada keuntungan. Saya kan pakai bebek padi itu, itik padi, dapat telur banyak itu. Kalau pakai pestisida kan bahaya itu. Dari segi anu kan tidak menguntungkan. Kalau yang satu beli, kalau pakai itik padi itu, terus jadi goyang ya anunya, padinya sama itiknya. Banyak juga yang mau ikut duduk anu.
Aston Caraway truly lives up to its name. After meeting with Tim, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Hope that organizations like this exist, and that my trip's footprints might not be as damaging as I had thought.
So my vision is that young people will be tending to this ancestral land in participation with international people that visit this island, and that every one of those rice paddies will be just burgeoning with biodiversity and beautiful flowers. I see a colorful and integrated and interdependent future.
Thanks for coming along on my Bali journey. Have you ever been to Bali? I'd love to hear how your experience was. Share them in the comments below. As for my love of rice, I have now replaced it with a newfound love for locally sourced potatoes. Well, that's until I move next to a rice paddy.